And I remember we had this beautiful white Exeed VX. And there'd be some dealers kind of trying to be smart with us, right? And the guy looks at me and goes, who's gonna pay $70,000 for a Chinese car? I said, we won't have to. You could get two of them for $75,000.
It seems you have come to China this year twice or three times.
We were in line at the LA consulate the first day that you could get visas. We were
Wow,
there the very first day.
you're
So
really eager.
we've been to China twice. Um, spent 2 days on one of the trips at the Shanghai Auto Show. And my partner Garrett had never been to China before. I've been to China, I think that was my 12th or 13th trip to China. And as we walked around the Shanghai Auto Show, his comments were, look at the Peugeots, look at the Volvos, look at the Hyundais. They all look old. They all look obsolete, right? That the Chinese design is going so far beyond, right? And I think part of that is there's so many OEMs in China. The OEMs do change the designs a lot faster than in North America because what there's 100 OEMs in China, right? I think probably more. There's only 34 in the US. So they can keep a design without changing the car 2, 3, 4 years. Or if you look at somebody like Chery, every year there's at least a minor refresh, and probably every other year it's a major refresh to the car. And so that would be another competitive edge a Chinese OEM had here, that tooling they use for the 2024 model, instead of changing that tooling for the 2025, they could use that tooling for 2024, 2025, 2026. You actually make a lot more money on the cars.
Yeah, that's what exactly I feel at the Shanghai Auto Show. Yeah, all the global brands, their model seems outdated, and all the people crowd at the Chinese brand. The Chinese brand, the exterior design, interior design, autonomous driving, their AI cabin are so advanced, but the global brands seem so outdated.
So outdated, very, very outdated. And since the pandemic, in the last 4 years, a company like Hyundai has raised their prices 46%. So
Yeah,
you're
I saw the
getting,
news.
so you're getting to the point now. The average American family makes $58,000 a year. The average new car price now is about $45,000.
Oh my
The
God.
average family, the average family cannot afford that. And I think this is where Chinese OEMs, they're not getting it, right? They don't realize Hyundai launched with a 15% price advantage in 1988. And in the first full year, sold 168,000 cars of one model. There's a huge demand now for things that are affordable. And whether it's gasoline, whether it's HEV, PHEV, range extender, or EV, they're all applicable because we are so far behind on EVs. EVs will not take over in the United States for decades and decades to come. People want gasoline cars because that's what they can afford.
So, another question for you. Why do you think American consumers shift from gasoline car to EVs much slower than Chinese customers?
So a couple things. So one is, the number one is probably price.
The
The
gas
average
price.
EV, no, the price of the EV model.
Oh, car
So,
price.
right, the car price, the average price is probably close to $60,000, right? So a lot of money. Two, It's this idea of range anxiety. The cars don't have enough range. So I'll give you a great example. So Ford has the Lightning F-150 pickup truck.
Yes.
They say it gets 300 miles of range. It gets 300 miles of range when you're in that truck by yourself as the driver.
Yes.
But if you put your family and you put your camping supplies and you want to tow a little trailer, you have a range of 100 miles.
That's true.
You can't go and camp anyplace. So the technology is not there yet. And the third thing is there is a lack of charging infrastructure. You'll see on YouTube all the time where people try to test the chargers and X amount of chargers don't work. They won't work with a specific car. So I think it's a long time for the US before EVs become dominant, right? And Ford announced yesterday that they were going to go try to go 100% EV. They've now announced that they're going to introduce a lot of HEV models because of the extended range. People don't have to worry about the range, but they get that increased fuel economy that what the government is requiring. So somebody coming in, and it'll be again like Hyundai. Hyundai is generating the money to make this big push on the EVs by the 7 million gasoline cars they sell worldwide. That's where they're making their profits. They're losing money selling EVs.
Yes.
But they're hoping that as technology advances, more and more people want EVs, right? The price will come down. So we'll see. I mean, the price has gone up, right? Everybody said as more and more EVs are going to be produced, the price would come down. The prices are actually increasing. So I think you have to try to sell what people want to buy. And so the US now, this month, it's projected 8% of sales will be EV. So a new OEM would have to come in. You'd have to have a gasoline car. That would be your volume car. And you'd have to have a great SUV EV. And everything would be SUV. There's no sense bringing any sedans into the US. Sedans just continue to drop in sales every month.
Mm.
So now on the EVs, if the EV is produced in the US, the Biden administration has $7,500 the customer gets back. But half of that is based on where the battery materials come and where the battery's built. So even with that, we say that's a Democratic Party program. The Republicans hate the fact that the government is giving people money to buy cars. So if a Republican gets in, could those monies go away? Yeah. But there's a way even to get around that. You could price your gasoline cars higher and price your EV cars lower.
Yes.
To make the numbers work out, right?
Yes.
So there's even ways around that. Yeah. And we just finished a big discussion with one OEM on what they call the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes.
Right. And how that all works. And we did a big presentation on that and how that works. And for Chinese commercial vehicles, there's no restrictions. So you could have a Chinese commercial EV, a delivery van, and it would get to $7,500 because there's no restrictions on where it's built or where the battery comes from.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of BYD electric trucks and buses on California.
Yeah, so BYD has done a good job with buses. They did it. You know what? They had problems for a long time. They fixed the problems. There was also talk that BYD was going to come to the US. And I don't think that worked out because of the way they approached it. Right? There was rumors that they were going to bring in like a Model S because that's what Tesla did. Well, if you look at the current sales, Tesla Model S, they only sell 2,000 a month in the US now. So it's a very minor car. All the sales are on the Model 3 and the Model Y. That's 95% of what Tesla sells now, right?
Yes.
So I think, again, it shows the importance of getting to the right people to lead the way into the country.
Yes. I totally agree with you. Hmm. So it seems that you are very confident on the quality of Chinese cars. So what do you think the Chinese cars quality compared with the Japanese brand, American brand, European brand? So do you think Chinese cars the quality have catch up with these competitors, or there's still some gap?
So now what we can see from driving, right? So the first big measure for cars in the US is this JD Powers initial
Yes.
quality, right? That all the cars are getting very, very close, right? You'll have maybe a low score of 7/10 or 8/10 of a problem per car, maybe going up to something like a Ram pickup truck maybe as 2.5, where that spread used to be 10 points, right? So everything is very similar. So we have not been have no success in getting that data, right, from China. But looking at the cars, the fit and finish, the way things are put together, right? They'd have to have just as good initial quality, right? The next test is VDX, Vehicle Dependability Study. And
Yes.
that's after 2 years, right? So all the cars are close on that, though the Fords lag behind, Chevy lags behind a little bit. And then you have Toyota, Lexus, Hyundai, Kia, Mazda. Those makes are pretty much lumped together where you get, whether you have a score of 120 or you have a score of 150, that's not going to stop somebody from buying the car. The quality is very, very equal. But I think what's more important than that is what you do with the customer when they have a problem.
Got it. After sales service.
Right. So one of the things Lexus did when it launched in the US, for the first 3 years, the initial Lexus models were just Camrys that had different bodies on them.
Yes.
And so what Lexus did, any problem you had a light bulb go out, you needed a wiper blade, you ran over a nail and you destroyed your tire, Lexus paid for that under warranty. And they launched the brand by it saying, oh my God, these cars they took care of me. These are the greatest cars in the world. Now, conversely, Hyundai didn't do that. And you would have people and we had Hyundai dealers that had Honda. And there was one right when I started with Hyundai, they were right next to one another. And the dealer would say, people would come in, and if a Hyundai was missing a screw, people would be, I don't know why I bought this car. I should have never bought this car. This is a bad car. But then he would say, conversely, you would have people that their engines in their Hondas blew up and needed a new engine. And that same person would say, oh, it's a Honda. Those things happen to cars. I know they're going to fix it for me. So if you take care of the customer right from the beginning, and it's simple, you just set up a reserve of $100 or $200 per car. If you have to spend it, you spend it. If you don't, you hold it as profit. But you take care of customers, and that's the quickest way to build the brand. You want people to say, these cars are great. And it took Hyundai 14, 15 years to get back to correct the mistakes they originally made, right? When they announced a 10, 100-year warranty for the engine and transmission. That turned everything right around. So the Chinese brand came in and did a 560 bumper to bumper and did a 10, 100 warranty. Instant sales. They would instantly be looked upon like they were Hyundai or Kia.
Wow, I would say that's a really good strategy. Have you heard of the Chinese brand on the Chery called Jet Tour?
Yes, yeah.
Jet
So
Tour, yeah. Go on, please.
Yeah, Jet Tour. They've done something with their warranty recently. I haven't heard that. I always kind of laugh because I always thought the Jet Tour styling was better than the Cherry styling.
Yes, but priced lower, priced about 30% lower than Cherry.
Yeah,
And Jet Tour, it has been growing so fast in the past 5 years because I think the main reason is it gave Chinese customer all the life quality warranty.
yeah,
I mean, except for the screen wiper, except for the tire,
yeah.
all the engine, transmission, all the body panel, if it breaks, they will repair freely for you all your life. So this is, I think, why they are growing so fast.
Oh, so James, they're saying lifetime warranty. Are they?
Lifetime warranty for the first owner. But if you sell to the second owner loses right, loses
Yeah.
warranty.
So see, even like with Hyundai, the way to do that. So there's the 560 bumper to bumper warranty, and then the 10100 covers the engine, transmission, all the computers. If you bought the car new and you sold it in 3 years and you had 30,000 miles, the second owner gets the remainder of the 560 warranty. They do not get the 10100 warranty.
God,
So that helped build the Hyundai brand because when the dealers had those cars, regardless of what make took it in as a trade, that dealer could say, "Oh yeah, and it still has factory warranty." Right? And that's now why Hyundai and Kia will sell 1.6 million cars in the U.S. this year. Let me tell you one other thing that really helps a Chinese OEM. That if Nimble were the distributor, Nimble becomes the firewall. So when Hyundai has recalls in the U.S., they don't go. Hyundai Motor Company in Korea doesn't get sued. Hyundai Motor America gets sued
yes,
because Hyundai Motor America is the importer of record.
yes,
That's a very key point, right? Now, Hyundai then would go back to the OEM and say, well, you have to cover this under warranty, right? Because those terms are worked out. And then the OEM would go back after their suppliers and try to get the money back from the suppliers. Everybody in the value chain understands it behooves them to ensure that they're making a quality product. And then the other thing with that is that any lawyer in the US would never try to go after a Chinese court. What they would have, if I was the distributor, they would be coming after me, right? Because they want to
yes.
go after the US citizen, because that's the easiest pathway for them. So I think we've been successful in making that point, right? Because that's very easy to check up on. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you and the Duke, and you guys are automotive veteran in the industry for decades of years, and you witness the progressing of Chinese auto in the past 30 years. But I'm curious, have you guys ever talked to ordinary American car users how they view Chinese cars?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So we started at an ADA and then had dealers come through, right? And I remember we had this beautiful white Exeed VX. And there'd be some dealers kind of trying to be smart with us, right? And the guy looks at me and goes, "Who's gonna pay $70,000 for a Chinese car?" I said, "We won't have to. You could get two of them for $75,000." And they were just stood there with their mouth open. They couldn't believe it. They actually stopped and looked at the car. Then we took them and we went on a road tour throughout the U.S. and invited dealers to come in. And then the dealers they couldn't believe it. Then we left some of the cars at dealers, right? So sometimes it's a difficult thing for a dealer to do because somebody's coming to the dealership to buy a car, and now they see this, they saw that Chery model. Their question is, well, where can I buy that car? So all those numbers show that it didn't matter. It doesn't matter where the car is made. It doesn't. Is it a great looking car? Does it have great content? Does it have a good warranty? And does it have a good price? And the cars would sell themselves. I think another thing we're going to have to get by though too is all the Chinese OEMs think that everything here should be EV. That's a major mistake. That's a huge mistake because EVs just this month may get to 8%. And of those 65% of those are Tesla. And Tesla's a whole nother group of people because they're like fanatics, right? The Tesla people. They just believe in Tesla. They buy one Tesla after another. But everyone else, Lucid, Rivian,
Georgetown.
yeah, Youngstown is basically out of business, right? So some of the commercial trucks like Bright Drop is backed by GM. They've only delivered like I think 50 trucks this year. Rivian is stuck at about 30,000. Rivian has a plant in Illinois that could do 150,000, but they're already building their second plant. So these companies have these aspirations, these startups that they're going to become these huge companies. Why would you build a second plant when you can build another 120,000 cars in your existing plant? It doesn't make any sense, right? And that's what Honda did in the US. Honda always, throughout its history, tries for 1% to 2% growth, steady growth. Don't rush production. Make sure quality is good. Keep the people happy, right? It's just case studies of who's done it right and who's done it wrong.
Yes, yes. And another question for you. If like tens of thousands of Chinese cars are sold in the US, so what market will it conquer? So I mean, whose market will Chinese auto conquer? The Japanese market or the Korean market or the Americans market?
So I think it's first going to be the imports, right? That people that generally look at imports are more outgoing. You have people that buy the domestics, they have a lot of repeat customers, right? But a lot of that is big trucks. So Ford announced today that their two small SUVs, they're dropping, right? Hyundai announced it's dropping its Accent. Kia announced it's dropping the Rio sedan. So a lot of makes are dropping the lower dollar SUVs. So you see something like a Chery, a Moto 5, right? That size vehicle. Chery should know that that would be a runaway hit, a runaway hit. But then larger SUVs. So I just bought a Hyundai Palisade, a 2023 Hyundai Palisade. And so that had a window sticker on it of over $53,000 for a Hyundai Palisade. A VX would have been maybe $38,000. And it's bigger, right? Had more equipment. So as a consumer, you say, well, I have to take a chance on this. Well, why not? And there were at the beginning of Hyundai, there were people that would take the Hyundai badge off the car. They take a heat gun and they take the Hyundai name off. Or there were people that would say, a man would say, I didn't buy it. No, that's not my car. That's my wife's car. Right?
The shame of driving Hyundai.
Yeah, they wanted to admit that they bought. They didn't want to admit to their friends that they bought a Hyundai, but they bought the Hyundai because it was a good car at a lower price. So, right. So, would the Chinese brands take care? Sure, there's always going to be like people like that. But you turn that into an opportunity. If somebody didn't want Cherry's name on the car, give them a different name to put on the car. What does it matter? Or do you just give it an American name right off the bat? And then people like we ask Buick dealers about the Buick Envision. How many people know that car is built in China? People, nobody ever asks. Nobody asks. It's on the window. It's on the window label that by law has to be on the car where the assembly is. And if you open up the driver's door, there's a VIN plate that was says made by SAIC in Shanghai. But people don't care. They don't care. They want the best value, the most stylish value with the most equipment. And that's our goal, to bring in a car just like that.
Got you. So you think the Chinese brands will take the market mainly from Korean, Japanese brands, and do you think also will take the market from European brands like um Volkswagen, like yeah, only Volkswagen. Oh, and Volvo.
Yeah, possibly Volkswagen, because Volkswagen too has gotten rid of some of their lower dollar cars like Jetta, which would go for $25,000 or $30,000. They're getting rid of that. So would somebody step into an SUV for $25,000 or $30,000? So if you look at what the cars come out of the factory, right? And you put a profit on for the OEM, add on the Trump tariffs, no problem. Put the 27.5% on the car. You can still price those cars at 15 to 20% less than the current competitors being sold in the U.S. now.
Definitely.
If ultimately a trade deal comes to fruition, and you don't have to pay the 27.5%, the OEM and the distributor just makes that much more money.
After I finished 1 hour talk with Bob, a lot of thoughts came out of my mind. When I was in primary school, I often saw American cars in my hometown Zibo, a mid-sized city in northern China. At that time, China and America are in their honeymoon, so China imported a lot of luxury cars from America, such as Cadillac Fleetwood and Lincoln Town-Car. Their prices after all freight and taxes were beyond 100,000 US dollars, while the average income in my hometown was just less than 100 US dollars per month. So only rich people and companies can afford to buy American cars. In 1998, when I was in middle school, General Motors launched their first car made in China, a Buick Century. I know Buick might be considered a grandpa car in America, but Buick was far beyond what ordinary Chinese people can afford in 1998. For the next 2 decades, General Motors was one of the most successful automakers in China. It was the largest automaker in China for many years, and it delivered more than 20 million cars in China. Let's also have a look at the EV pioneer Tesla. It powered through the recent China-US tension and delivered their first made in China Model 3 to customers in late 2019 and became the most popular EV brands in China. China's car industry used to be left far behind that of other countries, but after decades of learning and catching up, Chinese cars are no longer low quality. If you had the chance to drive a Chinese car, you will be convinced of its high quality and good value. Even though there's still misunderstanding and frictions between China and America, Chinese government and customers are open to American enterprises and products, making China the largest market for American companies such as General Motors and Apple. I hope one day American government and the customers can also treat Chinese cars equally, giving Chinese automakers the opportunity to provide high quality and good value cars to American customers. I believe this day is not far away.